Welcome back to an episode of Keeping Austin Queird. My name is Sky, and this is a podcast where we connect through colorful conversations. And today I have a pleasure of speaking with Chris Harders, a teacher of energy and a leader of his own co-creation community called Mindful Mondays. Welcome to the podcast, Chris.
Cool. Thanks for having me. Man, you did your research on the intro. I appreciate that.
Yes, of course. Of course. So welcome to the podcast.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for you to be here. This is a very special topic of mine, and just recent events that have happened to me within this year. And I just love what you're doing here in Austin. And we'll get into all of that and the up and coming events and just the future of what, you know, who you are and what you're doing. And I think that's just great. So I'm excited to get into more of that conversation. But before we do so, I always like to let the guests know how we met, how you identify, and then we'll play a game of get to know you a little bit better. So how we met. You had I was scrolling on Instagram and I saw this guy talking about energy and hosting a event to bring other people together and do really cool things. And so I was like, okay, what is this about? And clicked on your stuff and ended up coming up to a Mindful Mondays event. And it was really cool. So I think, yeah, that's really how we met. And I've attended 2 of them so far. And definitely will be attending more, but that is how we met. And again, we'll get into that a little bit later. As far as identification here on Keeping Austin Queird, how do you identify?
I guess I'm straight. I mean, I don't care that much anymore, but because I
Most
follow the
people
energy, but the feminine is what I'm attracted to. And
Okay.
mostly in all forms, but women is who I.
There you go.
Again, we've had different lives and things, and I've tuned into different lives as different people and different attractions. So like, it's less relevant, but
Yeah.
women in this lifetime.
Trust me, people understand that.
Okay.
On this, I've had everyone, pan, trans, bi, zero, it doesn't matter. It's just, and I get it, in today's world, it's harder to identify. That's a whole nother can of worms that I believe in past lives and why people are gay or trans, but I'll save that for later. But I think we're on the same page with that. All right. Well, on Keeping Austin Queird, I like to play a game. Your choice, of course. So to get to know you better questions, I have never have I ever. It's going to be a 3-card pool. And then let's get deep or deeper. Again, none of these questions are going to break you, but just to get to know you a little bit better. So you get 3 cards to pick. You tell me which one you want, and I'll pull it.
Wait, what were the
so we could go deep, and we can go deeper question-wise.
Okay.
And then never have I ever.
Oh, interesting.
Yep.
So never have I ever is a card?
Is a card.
Okay, we could try that one.
Okay. Let's see. And if it doesn't work, I will pick another one.
Cool.
Okay. Never have I ever been stunned by something that was left for me in a will. Oh. Have you ever never been stunned by something? Have you ever had anybody leave something to you in a will?
Well, when my mom passed away, it was part of my awakening journey, and it was an interesting period where this is where where my awakening started. My mom passed. I was before that I was already curious about alternative medicine because I was very unimpressed by how the medical system took care of her cancer situation, and it seemed like there were other simpler ways of helping her heal. So that brought me on my path. After she passed away, I was getting strong hits. I was really following intuition, and one of them was to leave my job, but I had no backup plan. Like the next day after leaving my job, I found out that there was money through her, through some sort of will situation that showed up, which I had no idea about, but it was like the day or 2 after leaving my job.
Wow.
And then I did have another interesting money situation pop in right after that too. But it was like, that's interesting. So I looked at it as a wink from the universe here on the track.
Purpose and path and alignment.
Yeah.
Love that. Yes. And we'll get into more of your awakening story.
Let's go deeper then.
Let's go deeper.
Yeah, why not?
Okay. Honestly, they're not that deep. And if it doesn't fit. All right. What is the one thing you wish they taught in school and why?
I mean, I think psychic development would be pretty fun.
Yes.
Well, because we have the abilities at such an early age if we don't turn them off.
Absolutely. Wow. And I think, yeah, I would say based upon this conversation today that we're having is, yeah, energy, abilities, clairs, etc. They're huge. And again, they start very, very early to work on. Deeper, or never have I our last card.
Let's go one more deep.
One more. Okay, deep.
Oh, there was a deeper card too. I get
deeper.
You. Oh,
you just a deeper.
Let's do deep then. Yeah.
Okay. What do you imagine being retired from work will be like? So are you the person to retire?
I don't think it's going to be much different than what I'm doing now.
Okay.
I think I'll be more established with, like, I have some pretty big visions of what I want to bring in.
Yeah.
And those will be more established. And then I'll be more the facilitator or the person that comes to for the sign off and maybe a little managerial stuff. But
okay.
That would be my form of retirement.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think the same thing. Like, I'm not going to, I'm sure, not do anything knowing my personality, but still be tied to the things that I enjoy and like in some form or fashion, but have the freedom and flexibility to do what I want. All right. So thanks for playing those games. And now it's a little bit of getting to know you better before that we talk about all about energy. So are you from Austin? Where are you from?
No, I'm from the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm a little south in San Bernardino, California.
All right. And what brought you to Austin?
I was a dating coach and I had a client out here. And so I came here for a weekend and really liked it and didn't have a strong reason to leave. So he and I just worked out a contract where I ended up living with him, got paid, and did that for a year or two.
Cool.
So
dating coach?
Yeah.
Wow. How long did you do that for?
I mean, I still do it like as a very, very small part of my work, but I was doing it more full time for about 3 or 4 years. But over the course of the last dozen years, it's been like a job that I've done here and there, but full time for about 3 or 4 years.
Cool.
Yeah.
So then how long have you lived in Austin?
I was here for 2 to 3 or 4 years. My concept of time is not perfect.
Same.
And then I moved, and then I left, and then moved back about 8 months ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what do you love about Austin?
I like the centrality of things. I've been in other cities where it's more dispersed.
Yeah.
I like it really is a spiritual hub for me. I haven't found that energetics in a lot of other cities, and I've been to a lot of other cities to try to find it.
Yeah.
And there's the right amount of population. I do wish Austin had more of an alpine feel. I really like that.
Oh, me too.
But
you can't.
It's got a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, definitely spread out for sure. I know as far as other cities being spread out, Northern California, Southern California, even San Diego, LA, all the places I've lived to, and for sure, it's definitely more centralized, which is nice. I do wish we had more of the alpine vibe of it all. But again, you can't have it all. And now, so you're doing dating part-time. Are you doing anything else other work-wise?
No, the spiritual stuff that I'm doing now is the sole focus. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. And the dating, even there's a strong spiritual spin and energetic side of things that when I teach people on that side now.
Oh my gosh. I gotta remember a contact that reached out to me. Maybe you might have heard about it already, but it's this woman I met actually through a Wikipedia, and she does spiritual, like she has a spiritual dating app. So, but yeah, I have to find a really cool chick. It would be a deep dive, but it's on my head, so I want to mention it because this has happened to us before. And I always thought it'd be cool to be a person to, I don't know, I'm a great wingman, being gay. The girls love me. I'm a dude's dude. The guys love me. And a lot of people find trust in me. I mean, it's what I do for a living as a recruiter. But it's fun. And I feel like I would be really good at it. I applied when I was kind of trying to figure out my next move after quitting corporate, but I was just a little too scared to do it, which is, I don't know why. But this woman created an app, and she was looking for people all over different cities to be like the main person for it. And it's basically like an dating app for spiritual people. So you know how like these girls or like these men are like, oh my gosh, I date this girl, but she has like 20 crystals and incense, and then some people are just not into that thinking, the the woohoo of it all. But or they go to these spiritual conferences and realize, oh well, he might be a little bit more feminine than I would like, or etc. But clearly there's no boundaries in the spiritual community. So it's nice to find someone, because commonality is a big, a big connector. When you have someone you don't have to explain all of this to, who just locks in and gets it. So I thought that was an amazing concept, because it's a niche that is strong in what they do, but they also, get a lot of bit of sometimes ridicule if they're a psychic or a medium or etc. or sound, so I'll have to share that with you.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So now let's get into the energy of it all.
Sure.
And I want to start with this quote, because this is, this sums it all up for me. And I'm sure you're aware of this. By Nikola Tesla, if you want to find the secret of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. I mean, goosebumps. And I'm just a huge believer, I'm sure you as well, is that energy is everything. So that's our topic today. So tell me, before we get into your awakening, which is next, but tell me a little bit about what was your life like before understanding energy?
Overall, life was fine. I was a very good student, and then very kind of highly pragmatic, highly left-brained, or rational, and could kind of make that work for me. I struggled with human connection. I didn't understand that, because there was that energetic piece that was missing. So I could hold the behaviors correctly, but I knew that there was something missing, and I couldn't quite figure it out.
Okay.
So, and then once in a while, what I would now call synchronicities would pop up. But at the time, I didn't believe any of that. I'm like a recovering skeptic, is what I tell people. And even now, the skeptic part is strong.
It's still, yeah.
And even now, like, part of me sometimes forgets everything is energy, and forgets to set intention in the things that I know work to help bring what I want in. So,
I mean, honestly, that is so spot on to what I think. I mean, I'm victim of that. It's so easy to get caught into the reality of this world and the density of everything. And sometimes, I do my practices and, part of, social communities, but then there's sometimes like, 6 hours of my day, I just forget about it and keep going back to this. And then a simple synchronicity of an angel number or something happens, and it just reminds me, okay, the universe is working in front of me, behind me, without me even needing to put much effort,
Yeah,
So
for sure.
I'm glad that you brought that up, because I think a lot of people are feeling that, I think that before we get into the awakening story, it's like I just truly believe that a lot of people are now more wakening up as a whole, as a global community, in all different forms or fashions. And again, whether that be meditation, sound healing, healing in general, tarot, psychic, medium, all that sort of stuff, breath work, and or even being exposed, finding a tool to expose themselves, or bringing a friend to expose them. And I think we all, as humans, deal with that switch of on and off and on and off, So the more you can stay grounded and plugged in is, beneficial to staying connected, right?
For sure.
So let's go ahead and tell me about your awakening story. You briefly mentioned that. So when did your mom pass away?
It's a little over 8 years ago now.
8 years.
Yeah.
Okay. And cancer?
She had cancer. Yeah.
What type?
It was adrenal.
Okay. I lost my dad, and it's been a little over a year now to throat cancer. So,
wow.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
And he was, I don't know if your mom was specifically, but I didn't really have a strong relationship with my dad, you know, kind of alcoholism and health, and, you know, left after that. But it's crazy that I feel more connected to him now after he's passing, because he's the one that was trying to subtly teach me about energy and frequency and all the things that I'm involved now. He was did, and was trying to get me to Qigong, all that sort of stuff, colors, aura, etc. So
he was trying to teach you in life or on the other side?
in life.
Oh, wow.
In life. And I was just thinking, oh, wow, crazy dad type of thing. And, you know,
and here you are.
And here we are. So yeah, your awakening story.
Yeah. So I think I started just questioning things with my mom, Pat, as she was getting sick, and thinking, doesn't seem like they're doing the best job they could be
at all.
In the medical system.
I could tell you that too.
Yeah. So that got me curious about alternative options, and they did help. It appears they helped extend her life by some of the herbal treatments and other things she did. But she did pass, and that night, two things happened. One, I wasn't as scared of death as I thought I would be, because I was in the room with her. And
how old were you?
I was either 28 or 29 or 30. I think I was 29. Like, it was very close to my Saturn return date.
Yeah, that's a big time
within
frame.
months of what my official Saturn return would have been. But which is interesting. It also hits my sister's Saturn return pretty closely, and my dad's second Saturn return or something like that. So it was very interesting on the astrology chart side.
Of course.
But I wasn't that scared of death. Like, there was something anticlimactic about it. And then I was also curious, like, well, we had plans. Like, her plan was they were going to retire and do some things. I mean, they were already living a good life, but.
Was she younger or older?
I mean, she was 60.
Okay.
So they still had a lot of life to live. And then I thought, well, what happens when life doesn't go by the playbook? What do I want to be doing now that I haven't before? And I also started just asking, what the hell is the point of life? And so this led me on a couple of years of really just questioning and getting introspective. And eventually it led me to a moment a few years. No, it may not even been a few years. I think it was a lot closer than that. But I was in my room and had this heart awakening experience where there was a big crack in my heart that I actually felt. And I was like breathing into it. And there's a whole, I'm kind of short, cutting a lot of steps. But this brought me to a all as one moment where there were about 1% of me was aware I was still embodied, but the rest of me felt like I was floating, and there were these psychedelic colors and this warmth and this feeling of love far stronger than anything I've ever felt in my life. And after that, the next 2 or 3 days, I was sort of floating just through life, and whatever I thought just kind of popped in. So I was watching a documentary of Elvis, and then a guitar showed up. Like, my neighbor knocked on the door and asked if I wanted a guitar because they were moving.
Wow.
And there were a lot of like just things like that. Yeah. And of course, this also led to me being very, very sensitive to people's energies.
Right.
And then that's where I started seeking out teachers to show me how to not get my butt kicked by the world.
And what was specifically sensitive to you?
Pretty much everything. So I could feel anybody's emotions, which that was just a lot, especially if they were tougher emotions like grief or sadness or things like that. I couldn't go to the grocery store. All the beeping of the cash registers was too much for me. If it was too hot, I would have some form, I don't know if it was straight a panic attack, but something similar to that. If it was too bright, that would happen. There were just so many conditions I had to control. And so I was like locking myself in my room essentially and like scanning for the perfect conditions to do anything. And that was just exhausting. So after a couple months of that, I just thought, what the heck is happening? I can't have this be my life.
Did you think like for a minute that, okay, like psychologically, like, am I losing my shit? Or is this something that is like, that an experience, or did you already immediately connect to something that you knew you weren't losing your shit, but it was like an experience, like a divine experience?
The sensitivity or the oneness thing?
The sensitivity to all of that.
The sensitivity.
For those that, I would just say that because for those that might be listening that might experience it, but they don't know, you know?
Yeah. So luckily I already had a few teachers I was consulting. But that being said, I didn't want to rule anything out. So I did go through my health care provider too and say, this is what's going on. What do I do?
Oh, wow.
Their main solution they had two solutions. One was acupuncture, which I have a love-hate relationship with. It's been very helpful at times, and also it's been wildly painful with results that haven't been perfect for other things.
Okay.
But so acupuncture was one suggestion, which I never really got around to. There's too long of a wait list. And then the other thing was they just said if I spread numbing cream across my body, that would probably solve it.
And this is an example of what your mom and you went through. Yeah, no.
I was like, I'm fairly certain this isn't the solution. What I did end up doing one day is I just said, what were my dreams before all this happened? And I knew I wanted to travel and things. And so I did a past life regression, a simple one. This wasn't one of the long 4-hour guided ones. It was like in a group where you do it for 30 minutes or an hour and then you reflect. And I had a past life regression where I was living different lives, where I was traveling and I was more free spirited. And I tapped into that energy. And I was like, I want that. And so I booked a one-way ticket to New Zealand, and I figured, if I'm going to have panic attacks, I may as well do it somewhere else. And
really cool freaking country.
And I went to New Zealand, and the first couple days were really tough. They were really challenging. I would recommend somebody book a hostel, having never stayed in a hostel before.
Oh, yeah.
When they're having a spiritual, so it was just miserable in many ways, but I did figure it out.
Because your senses are firing.
They were so sensitive.
Okay, got it.
There were so many things wrong. But anyhow, I did end up going to the South Island, which was a little bit cooler, a little bit more the alpine energy, and I really connected with nature. And then I was able to work with my senses in a new way and to say, hey, listen, senses, we got to find a way to
you got to get it together. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyhow, that was the start of me becoming more in control of everything.
Okay. Now you mentioned you were seeking teachers and then were you did this spark any? Did you have any connection with this because of your mother's passing, or did you think it was just a momentarily thing that this is happening and it's a new projection towards a new path in your life? I know we spoke about specific abilities. Did that come from, and you went to college? How did that kind of mold itself into those things?
Yeah, so as I was going through kind of my own just introspective journey, I was also teaching workshops related to communication. And somewhere in there, without knowing it, I had the oneness experience. And I didn't know it was a oneness experience at the time. I knew it was really cool, but I was listening to an ASMR audio thing. And I was like, oh, maybe it was just ASMR. Maybe it's just really good at making you feel good. And so, so a few people I would tell people once in a while, they're like, oh, I'm sad. I'm like, oh, you just need to listen to ASMR. It'll give you the best experience of your life. I didn't know I had something far more substantial, and ASMR just happened to be on in the background.
Right.
But my mom was in that. So while that was going on, I knew something was going on with my heart, and I knew I needed support. So I did tune into her energy. I'd already studied neurolinguistic programming and this idea of you can call in kind of the energy or the felt sense of somebody, and so that's what I did. I called in her energy, and then she was present in a way as this experience was happening. And then after that, somewhere in there, while I was leading these communication classes, I kept saying I was a highly sensitive person. I was familiar with that term. I'd never heard of any other terms before. And even being labeled highly sensitive was really useful. But all the books that I've seen so far on it are very unhelpful beyond diagnosing the problem.
Yeah,
they just basically say, yeah, you're highly sensitive. It's sort of special, but also you're going to be screwed in this world. The world's not meant for you. It's just what the heck?
Yeah,
there is a better way to live. So anyhow, I would be going to these communication things and telling people I'm highly sensitive. If I can do it, you can do it. And then someone said, I think you're an empath. And then they led me to listening to my first teacher, who was just briefly talking about, if you're an empath, you don't need to get your ass kicked by the world. And then I was like, wait, what's that? So I signed up for one of her classes, and it was a $20 6-minute video that talked about my first energy tool, the grounding cord.
Yeah.
And when I used the grounding cord, it was the first time I could go to the supermarket and not be overwhelmed by everything.
Wow.
And so then she's the one who we continued talking a little bit more. And she's like, by the way, if you can do this, it means you can read energy and you have access to other abilities. And I was like,
Absolutely.
And I said, I don't even know what you're talking about. And then she says, clairvoyance and all, and she lists them. And I'm like, oh, okay. That sounds cool and weird, and I didn't believe in that at all. But also I just did this imaginary grounding cord, and now my life is better. So I'll pay for whatever you show me what
You
to
got
do.
me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I was very open to trying something new.
That's awesome. I'm glad you found that. Again, I'm a huge believer that, it comes to you in certain things as needed, and the universe is looking out for you in that aspect. I was curious to hear if so was it a clear defining point of not having any of that in sensitivity, clairvoyance, or did you grow up in that space, or was it more, you didn't know about it, or maybe more religious than spirituality, and then this happened and you were like, oh wait, what is this? Because clearly you said you didn't know or didn't experience that, but was that door sort of cracked open before this experience, or was it like, oh, this is all new?
Well, it did bring back, as a kid, I was really into the X-Men, and I thought I really wanted to have abilities, and I sort of felt like I could. I did get to the point where, I'm just a kid bored in my room before a lot of the internet and stuff is out there.
Right.
I did get to the point where I can make goosebumps appear on my body at any time.
You told me that.
And that was by learning energy. So I could feel it moving through my body. I didn't know what it was, but I was like, I think something is related to doing other stuff with this thing I'm feeling.
Oh.
And also when I would go to bed at night, I had a lot of trouble sleeping because there's the moment while we're sleeping where our soul leaves our body, or part of our soul leaves our body.
Yes.
Well, I would feel that, but it would always startle me awake because I would feel right before the soul was about to leave. And I'm like, what's going on? I'm about to die or something.
Yeah.
And some people would say sleep is a mini death, but I didn't know what was going on. No one could explain it to me. So those were my early experiences with started shutting things down because no one could explain it. I was a very sensitive boy, and just sensitive people said something mean. And so I did my best to stuff that down. And then what was the other thing? Oh, and then when I was dating, so when I was 23, I moved to Vegas. I was pretty inexperienced at that point, just in dating in general. So I moved to Vegas, became a club promoter, lived with dating coaches for a couple years. And I started doing pretty well with women pretty quickly. And they all seemed very connected to me. And I was like, I don't understand why they're so connected. So there was this empath thing going on, or this way of clearing or connecting, or I would know the exact right question to ask. And I didn't understand why. I just I don't know, I'm just doing my thing. And so anyhow, so those were some of the abilities before I was aware of the abilities. And I could feel that. And even these one night stands and things, they would kind of hurt a little bit afterwards because it was like we built this strong connection really quickly.
Wow.
And then, she goes back to wherever she's from, and here I am. And
in Vegas.
Yeah, but that was also the expectation of things. So I was kind of thrown off of what was going on.
Yeah. I mean, you explaining all of that honestly has brought maybe some points to me. I was like, okay, I've experienced that, but didn't really know about it or felt that way. So it's very interesting to now hear that through you and reflect on that. So I'm sure that's happening to other people as well listening. Okay. Now, you went to a psychic college, right? Once you kind of gotten more into that, what was the purpose of that? And kind of did you doing a deeper dive and understanding more of the ability side? Because she said, oh, well, if you could do this, then you can do that.
Yeah. So I studied with my first teacher for a year, maybe a year and a half. And that was just one-on-one. And then she's like, if you really want to go deeper, there are psychic schools. And I was like, really? And so it was funny. As soon as she said that.
Talk about X-Men.
Yeah. As soon as she said that, the very next day on Good Morning America, they say, do you know you could go to psychic school? And of course, that's always it's just funny when the universe just sort of throws something at you.
It's wild.
Yeah. So I always
say that if you really pay attention, it will blow your mind.
Yeah. So that was funny. And it's not like I watch Good Morning America. It just happens to be very random. Like, Chris, you should turn on the TV right now. And then boom.
Yep.
So no, I spent some time looking though. There's so much stuff online now, so much noise.
So much.
And I did find a program that seemed like it had at least gone a few decades. So it was probably a little more accredited. And it was a sister school of the Berkeley Psychic Institute. But I took a intro class at a few places before choosing the school that I ended up choosing. So I went through basically 4 or 5 psychic schools before I chose the one I wanted to do. And so one of the reasons I want to do it, one, I wanted to develop my own abilities more, but the other thing was I'd already been coaching people. I've got quite a bunch of years of study as well as clients that I've had over the times. And I thought, what if I could just tune into their soul, get the answer that their soul wants them to know, and just report it back and say, you think all this stuff, this is what your soul's telling you, be free. And so that was kind of one of the considerations from doing the psychic thing. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. Now, have your energy and experiences and kind of the path that you started going down after your awakening and your mom's death, how did the energy of it all affect friends, families, dating, relationships? Was there any hard ship through that?
It was weird. Like, it definitely confused some family members at first. Now I just don't bring it up as much. It's one of these things where it's like, all right, we all have our beliefs and yes. We'll be ready for them when we're ready for them.
Right.
I don't need to project on to others what's going on. But for a little while it did create, I don't know, my family, they do their best to not like stir things up too much. So they're just kind of like, all right, I think Chris is going through his thing. And so anyhow,
that's fine and great as well. Like I mean, as I'm going through my stuff, I just am like, I'm in a space where I'm tired. Like, I honestly I don't have any energy to explain to you. Like, why do I have to explain myself to you? It's either you get it or you don't. And that's okay. But it's almost like, for the gaze of it all, it's just like, why would I have to? I got it. I'm born. I'm not here to lie. I'm not here to do a stunt. I'm not making things up. Trust me, I get it. It's a world of sometimes it's just not given an education to understand right off bat. And there is a lot of noise out there and scammers and this, that, and the other. But like, if you know me as a person, it's like not like that. So,
and I think for me, the more that I've started putting clips out online of what I do, and at least I'm getting some people validating what I do. Like, it's like, okay, for some reason that gives me a lot of confidence too, that I'm on a path of at least helping the people who I'm meant to help. And so then I don't mind sending my message even to people who may not fully get it, because it's like, all right, there is a chance though somebody needs to hear this.
Yes.
And so that's one piece. One other thing that I just thought was interesting, because we're on the Keep Austin Queird podcast. I've had 3, maybe 4 people describe like themselves as coming out of the spiritual closet.
Yeah.
And like independently, it's not like one heard the other. And I thought that's so interesting.
I did that myself.
Okay.
And who did I speak with that ideally, I don't talk to so many dang people, but I told them, we both kind of said the same thing. So back in March, when I quit the corporate world, started my own company, did a lot, went on my spiritual journey, and all the things that I've been experiencing, like I talked about medical intuition, energy, all the things. And I did a coming out post on Instagram. Now, I never did this when I was gay, but I did it. And I had so much confidence. I mean, I'm 40, I'll be 45 this year. So as an adult, living my life, having what I have, husband, house, everything, I don't need anything from anyone. And so this type of spirituality and the journey and the path that I'm on is just so important to me. And just, I'm still figuring it out and learning as I'm going through my senses and abilities and etc. But I did that because we live in a Snoopy world where if you want to have an additional Instagram account or another business or this, that, and the other, and people are like, well, I heard, but he didn't tell me. And what is this? Me. No. Here's what it is. Take it or leave it. I'm moving forward. So cool. There is a coming out closet of it all. And that's why I asked you about the friends, family or thing, because it is very almost like a repeat of what we went through as LGBTQ plus, honestly.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So for me too, on the family thing, this is like the 3rd weird thing I've done, in my life. So like the dating coach thing was really confusing to people. The moving to Vegas when I had a degree in mechanical engineering and a safe job in software, that was confusing. By the time I'm like, I'm reading people's auras and things, they're just like, All right, Chris.
Go off.
Yeah. So,
I mean, all right. How does energy show up in people's daily lives without people realizing it? So, I mean, obviously, we know we said everything is energy. What would you say?
yeah, well, I think that's the focus I'm having more on trying to help people with, because that's been the most useful part of my thing, even more almost than, well, when I'm interacting with people, I also am reading what's going on, mostly for self. I'm not trying to dip into all their affairs,
Right.
but I'll get a general sense of
Good vibes, bad
yeah,
vibes.
yeah, exactly. And then, yeah, so that's a starting point. So, I mean, energy, we're all moving around and exchanging. We can think of like the verbal and nonverbal communication. And I just see energy as one extension of that.
Yep.
And so we're already getting a lot of information from our environment. And one thing is, we don't know how the information is affecting us for the good or for the bad. And I see mostly when people are unaware of the energy or what to do with it, that it affects them in a negative way. It just becomes heavy. And I've had multiple people just describe themselves as ungrounded. The only strategy they seem to have is either exercise or go to the forest or something. And there's much faster ways.
Very simple.
And then the other interesting thing that I've noticed that's really been the game changer is once you recognize energy's going on and you start having some basic tools to what I call move it, to clear it out of your space, you can also start taking that same energy or different energy and then using that to what I call set your day. Like you would somebody described it recently on one of my posts as like setting the thermostat, just turning it up or down.
Oh, okay.
I even think of it as you're going to have a dinner party and you say, this is going to be the theme of the party. This is how many people I want to have. You can really set your day in a special way when you're more
the lighting, the climate. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I tune in, when I'm conscious, before I start an event, before I go somewhere, doesn't need to take a long time. And I can do it on the way. It's usually easier though to just pause for 10, 30 seconds. I just think, what am I actually trying to have happen here? And how would I like the flow of that to be? And then I tune into those two states, a little bit of the end state, but really the flow.
Yeah.
And that's what shows up. So I'm not controlling every step and every micro step, but the general flow of how I'd like to feel and the day to be. And it comes that way far more often.
Yeah.
So.
And honestly, like the intention, the feeling, the visualization, all of that. Do you believe that, with that being said, do you believe that, about chakras and then energy centers, that, from what I'm aware of is that we got mind, where you go to psychologists, mental health, etc. Body, you go to the gym. Spirituality, spiritual is you get the chakras, 7 portals, and they receive energy, they give energy, and then whether they're blocked or unblocked, etc. Do you think that that's how that energy is being perceived or not?
Do I think the chakras are what's picking up the energy?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you think they play a part in all that?
I don't. So I don't actually put a lot of effort or energy into focusing on the inner dynamics, at least at the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, I am familiar that the chakras are receiving energy, generally speaking, from the back. Different ones correlate to specific themes, although then you might have it can get a little bit messy, because like the first chakra is about survival, but maybe you're also noticing survival in a different chakra.
Yeah.
But I do think the chakras are significant. I think a lot gets caught in our energetic space, which is our aura. And then what I'm more focused on is just clearing the whole thing out. So I don't need to always focus on what's going on to do all the clearing and making them all just work fine. And so I tend to just say, all right, I feel blocked. I'm just going to start moving energy. And so that's my solution, more so than
focused individual and the whole dynamics of it all.
Unless a pattern keeps showing up, then I'll tune in and be like, okay, Chris, we do need to like figure out what's going on here. But in a general everyday space, if I feel stuck or off, I'm just clearing and I can consider what happened later on.
Okay. No, that's great. What is the difference between intuition and overthinking?
I mean, overthinking is definitely a product of the. Well, overthinking I would think of as a product of the mind. If it's overthinking, it's probably going to be a little bit more fear-oriented, a little bit more anxiety-oriented. Intuition's going to tend to come up a little more quickly and
Quieter.
quietly.
Yeah.
And intuition will be like, this is what we think you should do. But it's not really going to fight too hard to like, it's just going to be present. It's not going to be the overthinking
Screaming or knocking on your door like the overthinking will.
And that's actually a pretty big cue for me now in decision making. The overthinking tends to be louder, tends to try to be convincing.
Yeah.
And the intuition's just different. It's just kind of, I mean, it's like my mom back in the day, like, you should probably wear a sweater, you know?
It's very quiet, and you should probably wear a sweater.
Yeah.
When it's like, what do you want to wear, a sweater, or a jacket, or
Yeah,
hoodie,
exactly.
or like
Yeah.
fear, ego, like just loud.
Yeah.
For anyone that is sort of new and coming to your classes to bring this education to them, how would you say? I mean, not to get into the clairs of it all, but just like how would somebody say, okay, am I experiencing intuition or not? I mean, maybe it's just the quieter thing, but how would they more or less identify it at the being a beginner?
For me, it took pattern recognition over time. So I started recognizing the flavors of the hits I was getting, and then was able to compare that.
Yeah.
So there is a question of how good is the person at even reflecting on it could be very easy if they can start reflecting on decisions made in the past or instances in the past where the similar intuitive hit or thing popped up, and then they can cross-reference to that. That's the simplest way, in my opinion, to cross.
I agree. It's like taking being aware of it and kind of remembering at that moment what were you thinking, how were you feeling, and the synchronicity of what was happening.
Yeah, and there's something too about the checking in with why are they putting so much stress or importance on whatever the hit is coming in. So that's one thing that clouds my clairs in general, is if I'm putting too much importance on, I've got to be getting the right read right now. Like it's funny, I was at a bar the other night and I was doing so many good reads off these two girls I was talking to, and I was just having fun. So like I guessed the sorority that they were in without knowing. I got the state. I guess where they're from. I got the first two letters of the state right. It was, they were from like Minnesota, but I guess Michigan or something.
Okay.
So I was having fun, and then they realized. Then they're like, "We don't believe you," and like, now tell us more about us. And I was like, "Well, now you guys are killing it. This challenging energy. I'm not gonna, So yeah."
Cool. All right. Now, how much of our energy is actually ours versus absorbed from others?
Most is not ours, at least in the beginning.
Wow.
So, I mean, people are walking around.
I believe that.
Yeah. People are walking around for a long time, like lifetime, or at least years, carrying on energy that's not theirs because they just don't know how to clear it. I think one of the simplest ways is to think of like a dirty sponge. The dirty muckiness of it stays until you wring out the sponge and wash it underwater,
through grounding the cords, and finding these tools to help wash you outside of your body, which most people, again, aren't doing or have awareness to.
Yeah.
I experienced your the cord when I was having my sixth sense situation happen, medical intuition, and I have never done that before. And you do it before a class, and it vanished pretty like immediately. So it works, and I've never done that before. I mean, I'm aware of that, but to have that feeling, to be having a feeling and then going through that process and then not to feel it anymore is huge. And I think the same way as people sometimes don't realize they have anxiety today or stress today or carrying whatever they're carrying on from their brother, sister, mother, friend, or work, and they think it's them and it's not.
Yeah.
What are the biggest energy drains that people don't notice?
The biggest energy drains they don't notice?
Yeah, like what would you say?
Well, I certainly going about our day. Well, okay, so how would I say this? So I think two things that people probably don't notice, or that I need to be aware of these days. I mean, certainly the computer, I think we all complain about, but we're not aware of how draining that can be for us, especially when we're using that oftentimes instead of sunlight for like there's so many rays in the sun that can be healing. So I think the computer, the internet, and what the internet, and then all the I won't even call it news because there's other things on there too, but all those things are a drain. The amount we consume in terms of caffeine, I know for myself, I have a really good time with it, but there is a dip after. So if people aren't aware of the dip and how much that can energetically drag them down, those are things. Now people are always going to say food and things, and of course that's part of it. What else would it be? I mean, just toxic relationships. There's a lot of people dealing with toxic relationships.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Whether that be family, friends, work relationships, etc. And you have control of that. A lot of people don't think they have control of that through boundaries or etc. What would you say then? What are outside of grounding and what we know, breath work and stuff, that clearly is a quick and easy way to get there, but to raise your vibration, to, you know, to wake up and set that thermostat, to have good energy. What are some maybe high vibrational energy habits that people could or maybe are doing without noticing, you know?
I have a simple checklist. Like I have to be out in the sun each day. I have to be in nature, ideally each day, certainly outside for a period of time. It's so easy to be inside these days, and to that's not helpful.
No, I literally go outside every day because of my work environment and computer time.
Yeah. Like, because there's the energetic side, but then we are here in a physical body. So there are useful boundaries that people can set. Even for me, I'm continuing to learn what needs to be handled on the energetic side and then what needs to be handled on the physical side. So there are communications that, I mean, if you need to end a relationship with someone, you just need to end it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to be a big thing, and they don't need to understand why it's ending. You could just limit contact with the person and, you know, move that way and things. I
think music, maybe, you know,
music is
dancing in a way. Like,
yeah, for sure. I love it. Dogs, animals are very resetting. Staying away from most drugs.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Now this I think would be a great question, since you were previously and obviously and still are energetically sensitive. I kind of hear these buzzwords from people like, oh, they're not going to, you know, they're highly protecting their vibe or their energy well-being, but they do it in a way where it's just like, not sometimes overly dramatic. So my question is how do you protect your energy without becoming closed off or antisocial?
Yeah, well, these days I mean, I notice that a lot of people, when they say that, there is like almost a fear element in it, or there's a weird ego element to it. And again, that takes us out of just living a good life. What I realized too is I've gotten my ass kicked so many times that if I overstep and get a little dirty with other people's energy and things, I'll be fine. Like maybe it'll take a day or two to rebound, but I've been in some, you know, debilitating states, and I know I'm not going to get that far again. So remind me the question. It was just,
well, just like, what would you, I mean, you were in that extreme of being kind of locked in your room, and then you found these tools, teachers, and resources to help get you out of that. But sometimes, like you said, people live, I think there's a lot of ego to that. I think there's a lot of obviously fear into that. And I guess when you say there are people that, unfortunately, we live in two big extremes. Either I am protecting all of my energy, but that's also affecting the way I live my life and going out and being social and dating or work or whatever. Besides the tools that we've mentioned before, like, I mean, I feel like, I think it's just a part of, like, you know, identifying it daily, not making it a bigger deal than what it is, and knowing that you can come, you know, you can't cut your life short by not answering the phone, email, or going to the event. You know?
And I mean, I do clearing when I need to, but then I am selective on events I go to. I like currently I'm in a phase where I'll opt in for the event even if I think it's a little out there, but there's plenty of events where I'm like, that's not my thing. I'm not going to go. And you know, the way I learned that too is I went to a lot of things and I gave myself permission to leave. So
yes.
So that was cool because one, it trained the people around me to like the first few times was weird, but eventually my family was like, all right, Chris is just going to leave if he needs to. And that's how it goes. So that was cool though, because then again, I gave myself.
Congrats on that.
Yeah, that was
huge.
You go to a mega church 2 times and both times you leave within 4 minutes. Your family's like, all right, maybe we won't invite him next time, or we'll just let him stay at home. So, gosh, it was so funny. But I was like, there's no way I can be here for an hour to an hour and a half and deal with
gotta go
this booming and the lights. And
I've done it before, and it was hard. Not specifically to that, but I'm glad you've done that. You did that for yourself, because I think a lot of people just sit or deal with the energy that it is, and it's important to you, you know.
And people,
it sets the tone for someone else to say it's okay to do that.
Yeah,
you
totally.
know? And I've been a part of psychic reading or mediumship, and I was like, no.
Oh, I've left multiple.
You're not. No. And I used to sit through that.
Yeah.
The car. I mean, all various forms.
Yeah.
And I made a commitment to myself that I'm no longer. And the person was like, you're right. I don't feel. I'm not having any hits. And
interesting.
It educated them to say, you're right. You know, I'm not. I started this not in the best mindset or energetically connected to this, whatever in their process may be. And I thought that was just a reminder or a lesson to them, in a sense, you know.
That's cool. That's been more my philosophy too, even with boundary setting, is like cutting off the connection or limiting the connection with the toxic person or the challenging person. That's actually a blessing for them in some ways. I mean, certainly they'll probably find other sources in the short term, but eventually they might be like, hey, why does this pattern keep happening? And eventually self-awareness may happen.
Yeah.
So it can be a gift.
Agree. 1,000% agree. What is, are there any, you said leaving a room, is there any energy practices that you've experienced that you're just like, no, I'm not in, I don't vibe with this, or?
Oh, plenty.
Yeah.
The main ones that I don't like are ones that jump vulnerability too fast, because I think vulnerability, I can create a container for the opportunity for people to connect with each other. Yes. But ones where they're like, guys, this is your opportunity to be as deep as possible with a stranger. I'm like, yeah, we don't need to do that.
Right.
And then there's
the trauma of it all too sometimes.
Dude, I mean, this is not long ago where a girl opened up about something where she shouldn't have opened up to like 3 strangers about. Just it was clear it was not the right container, but that's what the facilitator was saying. And she's breaking in tears, and I have a feeling it was related to some sort of assault situation. And then minutes later, I mean, actually the people she was opening up to, me and the 2 others, were probably the right people. Like I think we were good at holding space. But the girl left the room within like 2 minutes and just left the event because she realized she shared way deeper than she needed to, and it brought her in a terrible
state,
emotional headspace. Yeah. So it's like, no, let's not do that. Let's find the right time, the right thing. And so that's one thing. Then the other thing is, I think breath work has its place, but there's certain group ways of doing it that I'm not on board with.
Agree.
Yeah. So anyhow, that's
Okay. Yeah, I've experienced a handful of those, typically focused on trauma, and I believe that everybody isn't in that space, so why put everyone through that space? And then, like, you know, if there is some deep cleansing or, you know, they're being vulnerable to in opening up situations, like, do you have the tools psychologically, you know, to help that, you know?
Yeah. And then plant medicine would be another thing where I don't mess with it too much right now. And I would really look for the right facilitator.
Yeah. Ayahuasca. There's another one out there, or any of that. Yeah, I agree. All right. Just a few more questions before we get into, your events. What was the craziest or most undeniable experience that you've had with energy? Or in,
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I've had some fun ones, but before I even had a awakening, well, I'm just kind of going into paranormal and weird stuff.
Yeah.
So I was driving on this road, and this was on the way to Vegas, and this was back when I was a dating coach, and I had a not good relationship with my business partner, but I was trying to force it to work. I'd already felt like the writing was already on the wall. This was not going to work well, but I was going on the road one day, and I was driving back to Vegas, even though everything in me was like, dude, you shouldn't be going this way. And when I was going down a particular part of the road, these two lights came flying at me and above my car. And at the time, I didn't know what they were. So I thought I was so disoriented that I didn't see like some big ass truck coming at me. Like,
yeah.
And so I pulled over the side of the road. It actually created PTSD essentially. Like I was having panic attacks driving on roads after that for years until I learned energy tools and different forms of undoing that.
Right.
But it really messed me up for a while. And later on, I finally drove that road again when I was kind of like rehabilitating my ability to drive. And I was like, there's no way another car could have come this way. And later on, I looked up that road, and it was known as the deadliest road in California. It was commonly called a haunted road. People would see these lights I was talking about. They called them spook lights. No one knew what they were. They're just these floating orbs. Yep. And so that was very affirming, because by then I was in my awakening process. And so it just was like this thing unexplainable. So that's one thing that was pretty unique.
I'm currently watching Skinwalker Ranch on Hulu, and it takes me through the documentary of the experiences that they're having, and very something similar. So highly recommend it if anyone's into that. All right. Last question. If people only remember one thing about energy from this conversation, or your experiences, or your events, and kind of what your main message is through that, what should it be?
I think if you can sense it, it means you can move it. So you do need to learn how to do it, but it shifts you from being victim to creator, or to being empowered. So
love that. Yeah. So true. So true. Again, with the things that I've been going through and experiencing myself, I think that was a major thing. And maybe through your Instagram reels and stuff, about if you're sensitive to it, you can move it and ideally control it in a sense, just like another form of an element. I always believe in the things that we do. You can't see Wi-Fi, you believe it works, you rely on it. Bluetooth, all the certain things that you can't see and rely on that work on it, that we rely on. All right. So thanks for that conversation. Now tell me about, tell the audience about your Mindful Mondays, and how did it start, the journey so far, and kind of your future vision for it. And then I know we have, you have an upcoming event this Sunday, which looks so cool. I saw the itinerary come out just recently. Unfortunately, I wish I could be there, but yeah, go ahead to spotlight yourself on this.
Sure. Yeah. When I first woke up, it's been around 8 years ago now. It was just me, and I knew a few people sort of, where I could once in a while text them and be like, "Hey, this is going on," and but I was pretty alone. And so over time, I thought, how cool would it be if there were other people around and I could connect with them and share what's going on, and even when we get together, we could say, this is how it works for me. How's it work for you? You've got different abilities, but maybe we could bounce ideas off each other. And so that's what brought the idea of the co-creation community together. And Mindful Mondays is just one form of it. I expect other events and things will happen, but it's really to bring people anywhere on the spiritual spectrum to a place where they can feel at home and open to share. So there are a lot of people who are more on the seeking side. They're newer, they know there's something more, and they're trying to understand what that is for them.
Right.
But it is cool too, because there's also people very seasoned who they've done the Reiki certifications and the whatever other certifications, and they want to come too, because they can learn from others and collaborate and share. So that's what the Mindful Mondays have become. Each week there's definitely basic grounding, but then we often will move into one or two different tools to play with. And the goal is to make it interactive.
Yes.
I've been to just too many sound healing events or whatever they are, which they're all nice for their thing.
You just sit there and
yeah. And so at the end, I'm always sort of in this phase, and I even can see it on other people's faces where they're like, they want to connect with each other, but there really hasn't been the container formed for that. That hasn't been. It's usually even a passing thought at the end of like, oh, if you heard somebody say something nice during their share, maybe say hi to them at the end.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, how are we going to do that? That's why this is more interactive, engaged.
And finding those people to come together, as you know, can be so rare, you know, and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm finally taking one day out of my month, or maybe, you know, a few times a week. And it's just like, oh my gosh, someone I can talk about all this cool shit I'm experiencing, or weird shit that I think is cool. And I don't have to feel weird about it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. So that's fun. I have a lot of fun with it. There was one more thing I was going to say, but it'll pop in if it's meant to pop in. Oh, and yeah. And one big goal I had, and it seems so far that it's been coming, is I didn't want a specific, I mean, I've got my set of beliefs, but there's no, we're going to pray to this deity and we're going to do, like, I didn't want that in it. And I also didn't want a whole bunch of spiritual ego. And so that's why I felt like I needed to create my own thing. Because if I go to other containers, there's already things. And I do my best to be like, hey guys, I don't know it all. Like, that's why we're all here together. So I really try to check myself on the spiritual ego. And so far the community that's come together has been really accommodating to that.
Yeah. Well, I'll, you know, speak about my experience as well. I mean, the few times that I've been there, I think it is exactly what you said. I was stoked about it because, you know, there's not a lot of men in this space, to be honest with you. And what you were saying, I thought was, you know, spot on to what I am experiencing, want to experience with others, what I want to know more about. And then I got there and I was like, wow, it's a nice, diverse group of people. And, you know, black, white, brown, young, older, etc., which is just how it is in the world, right? And, you know, not to knock all the women's groups out there or just the solo men's group out there, but I just love when you interchange energy with just people in general. And it wasn't in a form of, again, not knocking, but like the crystal metaphysical shops and the, you know, the, you know, I don't know, those heavy retreats and the yoga and the, where it's all, they all kind of look alike and they all kind of wear the same thing, or, you know, the smell of it all. And it was just normal because it is normal and energy is normal. You don't have to create and make something more of it than what it is. And just leaving it plain blank, I think is huge, you know. And I've seen your events grow with doubling in size, and it's just been, and you know, it's donation based, which is great. And so I don't know, actually I think it's just the great perfect container for all of that, which will continue to gravitate people towards. So again, if you guys are interested in anything that we discussed today, please check out his event. It's every Monday for the most part. And then you have a big event. Is this your first bigger one?
This is the first bigger one. It's the first Sunday event. It's called Relate and Meditate. And
love the name.
Yeah. So we're going to play around with it and we're going to see. And it's experimental in terms of, there's going to be 4 facilitators. There's going to be a sound bowl thing blending with the healing in the beginning, which were you there when we did the sound bowl before?
No, I saw that on the photos though.
It was really cool. Yeah. So
I love it. I'm all about it.
Blending the sound bowl while I was like guiding people in the grounding cord in the beginning. First off, I was like, I was almost in a different world.
Right.
But then we went into a healing circle after that, and we'll do a form of that because that collective energy is really powerful for healing and for projecting out what you want to bring in.
Absolutely.
So take advantage of it while it's here. And so that's going to happen. And then there'll be another cool sound healing piece at the end of it. But so again, everything I do is experimental. I get the feedback from above and then from the group. So I really use energy to guide what comes next.
Yeah, you're really good at getting feedback and taking it and listening and adapting to whether it's energetically right or wrong. So I love that as well. It's not just come in, here's who I am, this is what we're doing, take it, leave it by.
Yeah, you know? And so that's where the co-creation community will head. It's going to be like, I'm excited for this event. I've got other ideas in mind, and then I also just observe what does seem to be working. What's the thing that involves usually least effort, but then the biggest, like, oh, wow, we're all excited about that. That tends to be the thing. So
awesome. And it's this Sunday, what day, what time, and cost, and where at?
Sunday, March 22nd, 1 to 5 p.m. You can go to relatemeditate.com to check out tickets. I think they're $30 right now.
Okay. So, awesome. Yeah. Yay. Well, That is it, and how we end. Thank you for sharing that and everything that you do. Before we end this podcast on Keeping Austin Queird, we do a what is your girl bye, and then what is your yes queen? I know it's unfamiliar kind of language, but basically, what are you just stoked about right now that's happening in life, and then something that you're just like, I could just swipe left on this.
Okay, I'll go with girl bye first because then we can end on a positive. So girl bye is just weird, like little petty dramas as adults where I'm like, what are we doing here, guys? This isn't what we're about. So
just pettiness.
Just in general life, I'm like, what, y'all, come on.
Yeah.
We're adults. Who cares? You know, just so that would be my girl bye. What would be my yes right now? What am I really excited about? God, I'm really excited about a lot of things. So I mean, my girl queen, yes queen.
Yes,
my yes queen is that Barton Springs is back open, and I'm gonna have a damn blast with that. So
you love that.
Yeah, and also I've been biking a lot lately, and I've been feeling really good.
Well, you better get in this amazing Southern California weather here, because you know it's gonna make a shift here in a minute where Satan decides to pop up and sit his butt on Austin, Texas. So that's huge. Are you a big cold plunge person, or do you like the cold? Because Barton Springs is cold, right?
No, I like Barton Springs. No, I'm not a big cold plunge person, but and I don't know how much of that is. That could have been my girl bye too. Well, just the sauna cold plunge that seems to be at every damn spiritual event.
That is.
I'm like, guys, let's.
That would be my thing too. Is like a lot of copy, and that would be my bike girl. Is sometimes again the box that these thing, and it's a lot of copy and paste, especially in Austin.
Yeah.
So yeah, I get that.
And I can't even hate. I mean, we'll leave it there. So.
Yeah. Well, where can they find you? Your socials? What is all that?
Yeah. My socials, I think, are mostly Chris Harder's Heels for most of them. They might be different somewhere, and I don't know where. You can also go to chrishardersheels.com. But Chris Harder's Heels on Instagram would probably be the easiest way to see what I'm up to.
Cool. Well, keep doing the amazing work that you're doing here in Austin. I love it. I love the events and sharing everything that you do and bringing people closer together and getting outside of the screen and outside of the Zoom calls and meeting in person and doing fun activities to challenge your abilities, whether you have them or not, I think is huge. So again, thank you for sharing your experience. And that's it, you guys. Have a great day, and don't forget to keep Austin queered.